Conceptual Inventory. The ancient hates. Do not mistake these for mere passions or temporary rages. The ancient hates are geological. They predate their current vessels, flowing through history like subterranean rivers of tar. They are not learned, but inherited, etched into the foundation of the human project. This is the grudge the past holds against the future, the resentment of the soil for the skyscraper. We build our civilizations upon this bedrock of primordial malice, and when the structures crack, it is this black seepage that bubbles forth, unchanged after 10,000 years. It is the hate of the absolute for the conditional, of the simple for the complex. It is the default, unchangeable frequency of a species that dreams of stars, but whose heart beats in a cave. The law of supply and demand fails. It shatters upon contact with the human soul. You cannot apply market principles to metaphysical yearning. The economy of meaning operates on a reverse principle. The more you supply, the greater the demand becomes. Feed a man's hunger for purpose, and you do not sate him. You enlarge the void within him, creating an ever-expanding economy of lack. This is the perfect perpetual engine of consumption, not of goods, but of belief, of identity, of belonging. We will mint currency from any available ore, from fear, from nostalgia, from the promise of salvation. In this market, the most valuable product is one that can never be delivered, only perpetually anticipated. Civil, educated, and ignorant. The holy trinity of the managed mind. This is the desired end state, a person who is impeccably polite, lavishly credentialed, and strategically blind. Their civility is a lubricant that ensures the machine of society grinds on without squeaks of protests. Their education is not a lamp to light the darkness, but a catalogue of approved furniture, each piece positioned just so within the drawing room of their intellect. Their ignorance is not an absence, but a presence, a carefully cultivated void. A wall of polished black marble against which the projections of authority are displayed with perfect clarity. They can discuss the nuances of everything and the truth of nothing. Trained to believe, not to know. The central mechanism of our pedagogy. From the earliest age, the mind is not a muscle to be strengthened through inquiry, but a vessel to be filled with conclusion. We are taught the what and rigorously shielded from the why. The question, how does it work, is tolerated as a technical exercise. The question, why is it so, is a structural flaw, a crack in the foundation. The system produces adept believers, zealots of science, of state, of finance, who can recite the scripture but have never set foot in the wilderness where the words were first spoken. A mind trained only to believe is a fortress that cannot look inward at its own dungeons. Manipulated beliefs. The primary industrial product of the modern age. Beliefs are not organic growths. They are engineered in hidden workshops, synthesized from base materials of fear, aspiration, and tribal instinct. A belief is the most potent lever ever devised. Place one correctly within a man's consciousness, and he can move the world with his own hands. He will build his own prison, defend his own chains, and wage war against his own interests, all the while convinced he is a free actor in a drama of his own design. The marketplace of ideas is a rigged game, and the house manufactures the currency. Dangerous knowledge. Any understanding that grants the possessor leverage against the agreed-upon narrative. It is not inherently violent, but it is inherently subversive. It is a key, and the mere existence of a key implies there is a lock, a door, a room one is not supposed to enter. This knowledge is dangerous not for what it is, but for what it unravels, the delicate tapestry of shared illusion that allows a society to function. It is the grain of sand around which the pearl of consensus cannot form. The architects of the real will always label such knowledge a containment, a poison, for it grants immunity to their most potent spells. Writing with salt. This is the only ethical form of writing left to us. Each word must be chosen not for its beauty, but for its corrosive property. To write with salt is to inscribe truths that act as a solvent, eating away at the thick, gaudy varnish of the official story until the rotten, termite-ridden wood beneath is exposed. It is a slow, deliberate process. The writer must be a patient poisoner of the public well of lies, introducing antidotes so subtle they are mistaken for toxins. The goal is not to convince, but to corrode, not to preach, but to etch, until the facade becomes so pitted and frail that it collapses under its own weight. Power groups. Forget the crude imagery of boardrooms and secret handshakes. True power groups are invisible cartels of influence that deal not in crude materials, but in these subtle elements of reality itself. Perception, fear, allegiance, and time. Their meetings are not minutes, but shifts in atmospheric pressure. Their mergers and acquisitions are of human attention spans. They are ecosystems of affinity, where politicians, financiers, and cultural engineers operate in a silent symbiosis, their shared interests and unspoken language more binding than any contract. They do not command, they condition. They do not rule, they arrange the furniture of the world so that only their preferred paths are easy to walk. Some lies are easier to believe than the truth. This is the first principle of mental thermodynamics. The truth is often a burden, a pile of raw lumber in a complex set of blueprints delivered to you in a storm. It demands labor, uncertainty, and the courage to build your own shelter. The lie, however, is a prefabricated haven, cozy and complete, with the windows already curtained and a fire laid in the hearth. The mind, in its inherent laziness and terror of the elements, will always choose the furnished room over the construction site. The most successful lies are not the most audacious, but the most convenient. They fit perfectly into the empty spaces in our understanding, providing a comforting, if false, sense of structural integrity. Holding undue sway. The art of disproportionate influence. It is not about being the loudest voice in the square, but being the whisper in the ear of the one who owns the square. It is the leverage of the few over the many, achieved not through brute force, but through a precise surgical understanding of the mechanics of consent. It is knowing which string to pluck to make the whole instrument resonate with a desired frequency. This sway is undue because it operates outside the visible structures of accountability, a gravitational pull emanating from an unseen mass. It makes the many move in patterns whose design they cannot perceive, for the architects are hidden in plain sight, their tools being suggestion, access, and the orchestration of consequence.